Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I am Gabe. I've been here a couple of times in the past, but I think this is the first time where I have suggested a topic and we have done one.
You're my hero. I needed a topic for the week. You swooped in, you had an idea, and we're going to do it this week.
Yeah, and this week we are going to be discussing the State of Design article from Mark Rosewater for 2025. This is an article that goes all the way back to the very start of Mark Rosewater being head designer for Magic. And it's discussing what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the sets that were made this year for Magic, for canon Magic the Gathering.
It's kind of 2025 in a weird financial year 2025 or something. It's not quite like it doesn't include Spider-Man for whatever reason.
Yeah, he goes from fall set to fall set.
Kind of standard year, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually makes more sense. All right. So the sets to kind of frame what we're talking about here, we've got 6 of them. Bloomburrow, Duskmourn, Foundations, Aether Drift, Tarkir Dragonstorm, and Final Fantasy. That's actually a pretty good... There are 4, I would say, very good sets in that 6. I enjoyed drafting all these sets. I probably drafted all these sets at least 10 times.
I don't know. The only one I've actually bought product from is Foundations.
Oh, okay.
I asked for the beginner box so I could play with my family for Christmas.
What was the beginner box? That's is that some starter decks? Or?
It's got the rules intro and the spin downs, and it's got the 10 jumpstart decks.
Oh, it's jumpstart. Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
It's like a jumpstart box.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do for this episode is, Maro wrote, 6 or 7 paragraphs about each set, the pluses and minuses. And then we've picked sort of 2 of those points per set that we're going to dive a little bit deeper on. Maro also had an intro in here, and that's where we're going to start. So we're going to do an intro, a couple points from that, Bloomburrow, a couple points from that, and so on and so forth. And, feel this out. This is a new episode format for us.
I guess I'll start. We found a lot of valuable design space in tweaking known things. Magic had a ton of mechanics, but a lot of them, are tweaks on existing mechanics or just formalizing things that Magic already does. Offspring is just a tweak on Squad, which is from the 40k Commander deck. Exhaust is just formalizing activate this ability only once text.
Yeah. I'm fond of this technique. Look at an old mechanic. It doesn't quite fit the things that I need now. Let's make a new one, new flavor, some tweaks, maybe make the gameplay a little bit better. I guess going from Cascade to Discover was another example of that, though that would have been before this year.
Yeah, that was the year before.
Maybe there's this contrast between bringing back an old mechanic and just inventing a mechanic to use 15 times and then on 15 cards in one set and then never again.
A lot of custom Magic designers want to be, doing things that are entirely novel or that are super tiny design. There have been 3 cards with this, so I'm going to make it a huge portion of this set or make this card all about doing this thing that has 3 cards.
Yeah. It maybe has taught me that if I'm working on a set concept and I want to use, I'm just going to use a random example. Oh, the gameplay of Embalm from Amonkhet. This is really going to suit my set as well. But Embalm's flavor is really specific, right? It comes back as a white zombie and it's called Embalm. So you probably wouldn't use that anywhere but Amonkhet because of that.
Yeah.
But while you're feeling out a set, feel free to use that while you're testing it out and kind of figuring it out and then make your tweak afterward. Don't be worried about that kind of limitation. I think I would limit myself normally to say don't even bother considering that.
That is another point I hadn't even considered. You can use known quantities when prototyping a set that you can then change in relevant ways to make them work better with your mechanics or your flavor.
Yeah. I think the other end of this, I think the explosion of vocabulary is maybe a cost of doing this, of this technique.
Mm.
In the last couple of years, we've been doing kind of sealed leagues where you start with some packs, then you get a couple extra packs. So we play with our friends, right? We had cards from all kinds of different sets. Like we had all of standard for a while, then people could bring their own packs and whatever else. Someone says, "Oh yeah, and I'm going to renew my creature." What's the chance that any person remembers exactly what renew is? Like, will people remember what renew did a year from now? I mean, it says it on the card, so you can always look at it, but it's
Renew's an ability word, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is exile a card from your graveyard,
Oh,
and
you're testing yourself. I like this. Okay.
yeah, I believe it is like renew dash cost exile this card from your graveyard, and then all of the renew cards put some sort of counter on the
Mhm.
creature on a creature.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got it. You passed the test.
I did. I don't actually know if I did.
Its power as a vocab word is somewhat low. Like if someone says, "Oh, I'm going to flash back my card," that's like a strong enough term that's been used enough that it actually has value in making the game faster.
Yeah,
When someone says flashback, I know, okay, it's going to be exiled. Oh, it's the same spell that it was before. Oh, they probably paid a different cost. Like all those things are really locked in my head. Whereas if someone says like, okay, and then at the beginning of combat, my creature can endure. It's like, well, that's I think they make it 2/2 or get some counters or something. Like it doesn't have the power of a keyword that some keywords have, because it's a one-shot keyword that might never get used again. I don't know, just sort of an extra sort of a idea on like, oh, it's so great. Let's make 1,000 keywords. Oh, well, here's the cost to 1,000 keywords. Um,
yeah, that is definitely a potential issue.
yeah,
What's the difference between job select for Mirrodin and living weapon?
yeah, and they make different tokens, but beyond that, there might be differences. Like I don't know confidently off the top of my head if they're exactly the same except for the token they make. I would have to look.
I believe the only difference is that I believe every job select card also makes it a creature type.
Yeah. So a couple of the points from the intro that I thought, I don't know, were worth highlighting. Mark said, we're getting pretty good at making limited environments, which I would say I agree with. There were a lot of very good limited environments very close together in that last year.
Like you can say what you will about Magic design being formulaic, but that formula is pretty good.
Yeah. Maybe that's partially the play booster thing. We're going to make all the commons baseline playable, very workhorse, not a lot of trap cards that don't do anything, at least at common. I don't know all the factors that go into it, but yeah. Bloomburrow, I enjoyed playing limited. Dustmore's an amazing limited set. Foundations is, vanilla, right? It's not that
It's the core set limited experience.
but yeah, and it's a high quality core set, limited experience. I drafted it a bunch of times. Aether Drift, a lot of people don't like Aether Drift, but the draft format's totally cool and novel and different. Like playing with vehicles, a lot of 2 for 1s. There's a lot of things to play around there. Dragonstorm, I would say, is a weak limited set, but then Final Fantasy is also an amazing limited set.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it's totally fair to recognize that it was a great slate of limited formats.
Yeah.
One of the negatives that Mario had brought up is well, the summary is we need to be better at supporting our themes downstream of our designs. So I think downstream is sort of by saying like, okay, if you like Aether Drift and you want to play with some vehicles, there are cards in other sets that allow you to continue playing with vehicles. If you want to play with otters, there might be any other otter card anywhere else in standard besides Bloomburrow. I think that's absolutely true, and that's like sort of a weakness of these really rich limited sets is that they have a lot of cool themes that you're like, oh, look at these fucking sick uncommons that I really love, and this deck that I built that has a great identity, but I can't make a commander deck out of it. I can't play it in constructed. I can't even imagine anywhere else that I could play with these cool cards or have this synergy.
Yeah, I mean, there is one really cool like standard deck I saw, and it was Kona Omniscience.
Okay.
It's a blue deck, that has Kona and the planets from Edge of Eternities.
Oh, okay.
To cheat Omniscience into play, you can play the planet and then immediately use that to tap Kona without putting Kona into combat and cheat out Omniscience.
Oh, the Coda the Beastie or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a more friendly Dustmorn monster. Yeah, yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sick. I mean, there are cool standard decks. I'm not trying to say that, but
Oh, that was more an example of, right?
yeah,
You have the tapped the like survivor archetype.
yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. I'm not sure how they solve that kind of thing because having like a bunch of otters in later sets would feel like a little bit too like, hey, remember Bloomburrow? Like it might feel kind of unnatural to have a bunch of otters on Edge of Eternity or.
This is something they did in Alchemy, but they had
Hmm.
a bunch in Alchemy Dustmorn of Fritter Glimmers. You know, there's a bat glimmer and a mouse
Mm,
glimmer and a
mm.
lizard glimmer, and they're in like mostly the appropriate colors for being the Bloomburrow types. I hear the bat glimmer in particular, golden sidekick, is
Yeah.
quite strong.
Well, speaking of Bloomburrow, I think Bloomburrow is a huge hit and people loved it.
Oh, absolutely.
Watching my wife open the packs and my friends, like they really just loved all the animals, all that kind of stuff. But there's sort of a kind of like two contrasting points about Bloomburrow that Mark had brought up here. One of them that the mechanical themes of the animals were beloved. Like he cites rabbits and frogs. Both of those like felt very specific and like very fun to draft around, to build decks around. The mice are all little heroic underdogs. Like those are pretty good. But then the other side, there wasn't the right mix of animals. Was sort of a lesson for him. 10 different factions. Like I think the 10 different factions were kind of fun. Like I would say I like a linear draft format, a format on rails a little more than the average drafter. But a lot of the things that meant to bridge different tribes, like there were a bunch of lands that like the blue land could affect any given blue themed animal, like a frog or a bird or whatever, but couldn't affect other animals. And that list was always kind of comical to read. Like the rules text on those cards, a little bit crazy.
I think both of these points are good. Like everybody loves the frog deck where all the frogs bounce.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna bounce this guy, and then he's gonna bounce this other guy, and all of my frogs are bouncing and doing what frogs do.
Yeah.
But also, 10 is a lot of animal themes, and nobody's gonna really love every animal type.
Yeah. When you have 10 things that are all super flavor blasted, it maybe also just draws a lot more scrutiny of like, and like it's much more noticeable when some of them don't hit. Because a couple of them hit really hard. Rabbits, bats, squirrels, mice, frogs. I would say all of those were really strong limited mechanics or limited fractions, and also were fun and felt like the animal.
That's also a kind of a critique that I've seen of Aether Drift.
Hmm.
One of the big critiques I've seen of Aether Drift is that only like 3 or 4 of the factions actually hit. But I swear, I've never seen 2 people who say that have the same list of 3 or 4 factions.
Yeah, I think it's the central story of Bloomburrow that like the setting ruled, everything was cool about it, and then oh, but a couple of these animal types just didn't hit. It was so sad. We want everyone to win in this set. Like we're getting so pumped. All right, Dustmorn. What's your impression of Dustmorn?
A lot of people like sort of the broad idea of Duskmourn,
Yeah.
and people weren't quite as fond necessarily as you got down into the details.
Hmm. Okay.
One of these points that we've decided to highlight here is the 80s horror theme was forced into the set.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people had problems with Meat Hook Massacre 2.
Just as a concept. Yeah.
Yeah, like the card is literally Meat Hook Massacre 2
Yeah.
as sort of a reference to how many like sequels
Horror movie sequels. Yeah.
these
Yeah.
horror movies can get.
Yeah. I guess there are a couple cards that I think people highlighted. I don't know if anyone was actually outraged or if they're just examples of what people are feeling. but like one of them is acrobatic cheerleader, which is just like a 1980s cheerleader doing a backflip over some monsters. And they're like a paranormal analyst who's like using like a cool scanner megaphone, very Ghostbusters. It's got the Ghostbusters little prongs coming off, and he's surrounded by ghosts. These were sort of held up as like magic going a little too far. And I think that I might agree with that. Like it kind of breaks the cohesion of the set a little bit for me. But I think there's sort of an inverse problem there too, where whatever humans are on the plane, the ones that aren't really distinct are, to me, extra bland. Like I have no clue, like how does anyone survive on Dustmorn? Do the humans all know each other? Are we looking at the last 20 humans on the plane? Like the story of that is not very strong to me. And at least the 80s ones are funny. Like you open them and you point at it and you're like, aha, that's cute.
Think I'd rather the like 80s
Yeah.
humans. The like Valgavoth cultist humans are fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather more 80s survivors as sort of bit of a contrast where there's all this super messed up nonsense going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then, you've got the sort of normal people trying to survive in Duskmore.
Yeah. I've been kind of scrolling the visual spoiler while we're talking about it just to get kind of a vibe off of this. And I wouldn't say there's more than two 80s characters per color. Like the density of that, whatever you want to call that, is pretty low in the set, I would say. So maybe it's even sort of like a marketing thing or a presentation thing. Some of the key art was that kind of art style. But there are plenty of survivors that are not 80s-y, that they're just like magic characters, I guess. I don't know what to call that.
Well, part of it is like, some of the like survivors are like Ivar with a fanny pack
Yeah. I think maybe Tyvar is one of the corniest ones if you looking at it.
that they gave him a fanny pack.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
If we're not gonna do the 80s stuff on Dustmore, I want something else that I also like, I guess, rather than just having no human flavor at all. I don't know.
Yeah, like you can't do a horror set without having humans, you know?
Well, that was Phyrexia All Be One, I would say.
I guess that is fair.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different kind of horror anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, we need something else in Dustmore. Or maybe we're not gonna get Dustmore specifically again. We're just gonna get Valgavoth blowing up some other plane, and we'll
I'm
have
sure we're gonna
all the
get Duskmorn specifically again.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
like a 5 on the Rabia scale,
Oh, is that
according to
right?
Mara.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
But yes, I have too much time to read Blogatog, so
I don't know how much Blogatog have I read in my life, probably 1,000 questions. I guess story-wise is all I was saying, was like, Dustmorn's basically already conquered by Valgavoth, and Valgavoth seemingly has a way to get off of Dustmorn to continue doing the stuff that they like to do. Maybe that's too Phyrexian, like here's another plane that got blown up by Valgavoth, but it feels natural for him to take over a new plane next.
maybe that'll be like the interplanar war set
Hmm.
that the Omen Pass open up.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can move on to Foundations.
Yeah, Foundations, I was blown away by how high quality Foundations was. It's just like not just a card set, but also as like a product line, which is weird to say, but like the Jumpstart stuff that you talked about, the sort of deck builders toolkit that was like 300 cool cards that you might want. Like that was so inspiring to me. I feel like they really hit a good power level, being able to play those cards for a long time. So you can just always recommend it to someone. I think overall, yeah, Foundations was well aimed.
Yeah, I agree with Foundations being what a core set should be. It not being sort of like something you have to renew with a new set every couple of years and you're trying to give it a long tail. While in the past, core sets that have just existed on the on the normal standard rotation don't really have that advantage where they just sit and are the base of standard.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen too much besides Omniscience, like really getting play, but there are very powerful cards. Like there's Land of War Elves in Foundations too,
Yeah.
and we've seen Bloodthirsty Conqueror combo kind of. Bloodthirsty Conqueror it's a 5 mana flying Death Touch vampire. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life.
Yeah. There are definitely plenty of like mythic hits for me. Sire of Seven Deaths, the Eldrazi with 7 words on it or 7 abilities.
With 7
Also, Hydra I
keywords.
see all the time. Scrawling Crawler gets played in high end cubes. Blasphemous Edict is big in EDH. Loot. That loot is a good
Loot.
loot. Yeah. Heir Apparent. The best
Hair
Magic card is
Apparent.
printed not in yeah.
Yes. The like $10
Common.
uncommon. Oh, it's $3 as a common.
$3 common, yeah. Compared to older core sets, I mean, I basically drafted every set that I could, when I was going to the game store, like a M12, M13, M14, M15, that kind of stuff, Origins. But those sets were like quite vanilla, I would say, compared to Foundations. Foundations loosened the belt a little bit and said, like, okay, we have a better idea now of what actually confuses players. Let's use the mechanics that don't confuse players, but let's use as much of them as we want. We could get cards that are 20 words or something as commons in a core set and be confident that we're not designing formats that are too confusing for people.
And this kind of leads into a point that of like the set didn't go far enough. I kind of agree, but I think I have a very high opinion of like new players will muddle through whatever you give them as long as it's cool enough.
Yeah, this is a great point. It was actually really important that Foundations provided a lot of like prototypical deck hooks for people to latch onto. And I think that was a weakness of like the, I don't know, 8th edition era Magic, where there were just like vanillas everywhere, French vanillas everywhere. The creatures were not interesting. There's not a lot of synergies to shoot for. Like you're not getting the thing that makes Magic so cool. I remember trying to teach one of our friends how to play. We were playing like a multiplayer game. They had like a Dimir sort of graveyardy deck. This is their 5th Magic game ever. And it's like complicated Dimir things. But the flavor of just like, I'm going to like look at all these cards and the graveyard really matters and I'm an evil spy, that was strong enough to buy us extra time to teach them how to play, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think like having cat matters in Foundations is one of those sort of like inspired, let's have a type that people are just naturally going to love, either cat people or just like cats, like lions or whatever. Like this is something that's going to buy us time to show them why Magic is so cool.
Yeah, I just looked at 8th edition. The first card was Angel of Mercy, which is a 4 white angel flying. When Angel of Mercy enters the battlefield, or at this time it was comes into play, you gain 3 life as a
Big.
3/3. You
Yeah.
know what rarity that was? It was uncommon.
Yeah.
Where there's a different angel as a 3 mana in Foundations. There's Dazzling Angel as a
Mm.
great comparison. It's a 2/3 flying angel for 3 mana. Whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life
Yeah. That's like vastly superior in terms
as
of,
a common.
yeah. Not just power level, but just as a thing that is exciting to do. Because now I can care about life gain matters. I still get my life gain, but like if I can make a lot of tokens, now I can gain like a ton of life all at once.
You know, it's pretty likely you get a Dazzling Angel if you're just opening a pre-release pack or something.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable card that you're excited to look at for a common. I mean, it's not like a mythic or whatever, but it's appealing. It has purposes. It has things you can do. Whereas I think Angel of Mercy, your other example, is like a card that I just basically never want to play. Like there's no niche for it. There's no, even back then there would not have been many reasons to play an Angel of Mercy.
I can't imagine how nothing commons must have been. I wasn't playing during 8th edition.
Well,
You know?
they actually went the other direction with commons. They made the commons like extra complicated. I think famously the card right next to it, Angelic Page, is one of those target attacking or blocking creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. That confuses new players to no end. That makes it feel bad all the time.
That is a brutal onboard trick.
Yeah, and it's not the only one at common. Crossbow infantry is another one in common for white. You can see the upgrade in knowledge, and I mean, it's been 20 years or something since Eighth Edition came out, but we know what things we're allowed to do that aren't going to confuse new players, and are also going to be fun as deck building hooks, as appealing cards, as useful cards. That's part of the breakthrough for Foundations for me is how accurately they were able to hit fun cards that have a purpose that can be used that people just want to play with.
Yeah.
All right, so next, Aether Drift. I would say this is probably the most controversial set of the year.
Yeah. One of the big ones is that the racing theme, as like a Magic player, how many
Yeah.
Magic players do you know that are into like automobile racing?
Hmm. Yeah, maybe part of the confusion then is like, I don't think Aether Drift resembles NASCAR at all. Like, I don't think many cards will
No,
reference it.
I
Not
think
that
sorry.
not to like discount your point. I think it's a good starting point because then you think like, well, how do we actually get that over to Magic? And to get over to Magic, we have to do like wacky races or something else. And now we have
I
like
think
vehicles of all different types that could not race against each other at all, but they're all in the same set. And it's not really conceivable that they would really be facing each other.
I think converting racing as like a mechanical concept
Yeah.
into Magic is incredibly hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think Magic really has the tools to support that.
The gameplay isn't close enough to reality, I guess. Like there's the start your engines mechanic, which was okay.
I think Start Your Engines is great.
It's not really a race though. It's just like a threshold mechanic. So it's
Yeah,
you don't feel like you're in a race. You don't feel like you're racing against other players. There isn't that much extra urgency because of start your engines. Start your engines even maybe like makes the hot decks start a little slower and then become explosive later. So it's not even like
Start Your Engines is a really slow mechanic. Even though I think it is a very good thing, sets wind up being better when a decent part of it is like changing how you think about blocking math.
yeah.
In a lot of sets, letting the 1-1 go through instead of trading it for the 1-1 for your 1-1
Yeah.
is like just obviously the right play in the first half of the game.
Hmm.
But in Aether Drift, you play Start Your Engines, you get the 1-1, and then the next turn, are you attacking with it? Are you not? If you are attacking with it, do I want to block it with my 1-1? And like, because I value you not getting to 2 on Start Your Engines more than I value my 1-1. It's a
Yeah.
really interesting change to combat math.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right that start your engines is a cool mechanic, has a place, serves a purpose in limited, the lands, some people play in commander as well. So I think start your engines is fine, but doesn't have like the actual feeling of a race. There's no winner to the race. Like it's just it doesn't provide that bridge that says like, oh, we're in a racing set right now. It's more just racing themed. I don't know. Maybe that's me.
Yeah, it's trying to put Magic the Gathering
Yeah.
in the Raise Hell Praise Dale hat.
Yeah. The other piece probably that was a starting point for the set are let's do the vehicle set. And what's a natural thing to do with the vehicle set is to make a racing set.
Yes,
That's things that I saw speculated even years ago when vehicles first got
I'm,
announced is like, oh, how do we race them? Like this was like a custom set idea that was floating around a long time. But as a mechanical thing, the vehicles they were very interesting to play with. Like they enter, they usually have some random ability when they enter, and then you can crew them to trade them off. Like that was a very common thing to do in limited. And that worked well. That was different, that was interesting. But as a flavor thing, it was not that strong to me.
yeah. This leads into the sort of next other into the other point, which we kind of brought up about like power level. Vehicles are inherently quite weak.
Yeah, they swung really low on all the vehicles, like even the kind of constructed ones. The ability for the cars to be memorable when they're not very powerful outside of limited is kind of tough.
power level matters to how people view a set more than they would like to admit.
Yeah.
If Aether Drift and Spider-Man had a bunch of constructed bangers, even outside of like vehicles in
Yeah.
Aether Drift.
But something emblematic of the set, like a couple start your engine cars that were awesome as a group and constructed, a bunch of vehicles that as a group were fun and constructed. Like that would lift the overall perception of that group of cards, of that set even.
Yeah, if there was something strong, like even a mount that was really
Yeah.
good from Aether Drift.
Yeah, there were definitely good cards from Aether Drift, but they weren't necessarily that aligned with the set. Like Stock Up is obviously like one of the best draw cards
Oh,
they've ever
of
made.
course, stock up.
And I'm just sort of looking through like one of the most popular cards from the set, and it's taken me down to like the 25th or so card to get to a vehicle, Lumbering World Wagon, which is a good card, and I have seen it in standard. But I don't know, made it like why did we bother making the vehicle set if we didn't make it about vehicles, or did we didn't make the vehicles the good part of the set? Um,
Yeah,
this is kind of similar to the like enchantment as a theme. Like I want to make an enchantment set. That's a thing that is appealing. Here's a major type that is not often explored from a synergy level, from like a cohesive, like, oh, everything is about enchantments. We don't see that often. But part of the reason we don't see that often, which has been talked about, is that it's hard to actually make like games that are good around that type. And vehicles maybe are the same sort of thing. It's hard to make constructed vehicles that are like actually fun to play with.
Aura is
Hmm.
very weak mechanical.
Hmm.
And vehicles are sort of in a similar boat. You can get blown out if you're using vehicles very easily.
Yeah, like auras. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
And that's why Duskmourn uses a bunch of enchantment creatures, and Theros uses enchantment creatures.
Related to that, bringing it back to vehicles, a lot of the vehicles, their strategy as a like limited design and stuff is that we're going to give all these vehicles ETBs, or they're going to like give other things ETBs. Like Lumbering World Wagon, when it enters, it ramps, then when it attacks, it continues to ramp. And so we like Speed Demon is like the draw extra cards every turn. That's going to give you a reward right away because the vehicle type is kind of soft, like an aura. I think that's like really good comparison. Like it is very blowoutable in constructed. It can thrive in limited because you have to ration your removal spells in limited, but it's just kind of a challenging thing to aim for in general.
I,
Um,
I mean, the vehicles deck not working was actually a big criticism of
yeah,
Aether Drift in Limited.
yeah. Green white and red white were supposed to be vehicle decks. Green white kind of worked, but red white did not work as a
Well,
vehicle.
Green White worked because Green White was a mounts deck more than a
I-
vehicles deck.
and the gold cards were juiced.
And the gold card.
There was a vehicles deck, but it was like Sultai vehicles because it was like I'm going to make use of all these 2-for-1s and then just
Mm.
grind out a game by playing 7 vehicles. One of them makes you discard a card. One of them makes me draw a card. One of them, gets a raised deads, like a bunch of little things, and then I can trade those cards off. And over the course of 14 turns, I can pull ahead. But the ability to say we're going to do vehicles aggressively, like they're supposed to in a race, it didn't work. You're right.
Yeah.
The next setup is Tarkir Dragonstorm, which I think for me, like in terms of my enjoyment, was actually a little bit even lower than Aether Drift. I really enjoyed drafting Aether Drift. Dragonstorm was the epitome of like Boros versus Sultai, or Boros versus five
Boros
colors.
versus five color soup is what I've
Yeah.
heard.
Is it cool to draft the Dragon tag a couple times? Absolutely. It's like, oh, I'm doing this. Like I've got cards from all sorts of different colors, and I can make this work. But then there's not much else to do. The clans don't totally matter.
Yeah, and I mean that was one of Maro's like lessons learned is that limited drifted to either Boros or five color soup.
Oh yeah, I was saying that off the top of my head, but you're absolutely right. That was a paragraph that
That was a
Burroughs specifically
paragraph.
said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is an issue that as far as I can tell, every three color set they've done, every
yeah,
like proper three color set they've done has had.
yeah. It's a problem for a lot of sets, even outside of that, like Kaldheim, Strixhaven. These were formats that was like the one aggro color pair versus the slow trio or whatever, and there's flexibility within that. But yeah, it's a common problem.
Yeah. Like I've heard Alara didn't have anywhere near enough fixing. I've heard Khan kind of drifted towards 5-color soup. Streets of New Capenna was a 2-color format, and
Yeah,
Tarkir was just you're playing Boros or you're playing Dragons.
Dragonstorm. Yeah, yeah.
Dragonstorm was Boros or Dragons.
We've done a couple of the kind of follow the signpost episodes now, and one of the things that comes up there a lot is that Gruul often struggles to have the right place because Gruul is usually not the fastest pair, so it's never on that end of the pole. But then also the red tools are not typically the tools you care about that much in a late game slow deck. So the ability for that color pair to have an identity is often kind of handicapped because it can't offer anything to either end of that pole, and it has to sort of survive on its own, which is tough.
They are working to change it, right? With Tarkir Dragonstorm, even they had the unconditional red mana door for the first time in forever in Tarkir
Yeah,
Dragonstorm.
that's true. Yeah, that does let you go a little bigger, a little sooner. Yeah, play more mid to late game, not early game. Yeah,
Like they do say they want red to be less all in on aggro.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
But I really like how they sort of recontextualized all the clans.
yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
As sort of shifting to be enemy centered, where they weren't that way before. Like with Harmonize,
Yeah,
it's a very blue mechanic for Timor, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Harmonize is a very blue mechanic, but it still keeps a little bit of that like green red, you know, caring about big creatures energy.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think the concepts for the clans were all good. I think the ability to play those was unfortunately not there for me.
As a like limited development struggle more than as a like conceptual design struggle,
Yeah, yeah.
which something like Aether Drift more struggled with.
That's a good yeah, it's a good contrast. Yeah. I think the layout, the structure of the set for Tarkir felt good. Like going in, I'm like, "Oh, we're doing it. We're finally doing clan stuff." They had brought back original Tarkir on Arena, I don't know, a couple months before
It
Dragonstorm.
wasn't
And
it
that
like a year before that?
oh, maybe that's true. Or it was yeah, I guess it was part of their push for Pioneer. Yeah. And I got to play it a lot, which I hadn't done since it first came out. And I think like now that we know more about Limited, we can see more of the seams on the design of that set. Like it was absolutely breakthrough at the time, like this humongous achievement. And now it wouldn't quite cut it today. And part of the reason for that is because the incentives to be any given clan or to play any given color pair wasn't that strong because if you were going to be a slow deck, you may as well be a million colors because you could take all the morph cards and you could just be a slow morph deck. And kind of, I don't know. Sadly, the same sort of thing happened in Dragonstorm, but just for different reasons. Um, we got kind of like soup versus the like really sharp aggro decks. I feel like I'm complaining a little bit too much on Tarkir, but yeah, I think disappointment was probably my main takeaway from Tarkir.
I mean, there was a lot of hype going into Tarkir.
Yeah, maybe that's also true. Like we're going back. This is a classic plane. We love it. The
And
dragons.
this is real magic. And we're going
Yeah,
back to real magic and it's gonna be
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. The limited changing, and then basically like most of the main characters also changing. All the dragon lores disappearing and being replaced by new spirit dragons.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to be hell yeah about that, I guess.
I don't know if they needed to have like the Dragon Lords themselves in the set,
Yeah, it's a
but
tough call.
maybe.
I did like the kind of refresh on the flavor. Like it was kind of awkward that like, hey, our set has like three factions that are like savages, right? Like, let's elevate it out of that. Let's give them more culture. Let's like enrich them. They're not ruled by tyrants anymore. They're ruled by like more kind of functional societies. And that was good. And it was good to refresh that and get the Dragon Lords out of there. It's not about like five bad guys running everything. But I don't know.
The Dragon Lords weren't in the set is one of the lessons that Morrow says
Yeah,
was a problem.
yeah,
But it's like maybe you don't need a Dragon Lords card specifically. maybe instead of one of the uncommon signposts could be like allied colored as Blank's teaching, as like Ojatai's teaching,
Yeah.
as like a blue-white uncommon instead of like just deleting the Dragon Lords from the set.
Yeah, it's a hard fix, but it I don't know, it made an impact on me at least. And maybe we will someday get our like fully healthy 3-color limited set like that doesn't feel 2-color like Capenna, doesn't feel soupy like the Tarkir sets or like original Tarkir and Dragonstorm. Someday we'll find the actual 3-color Livinus best life set. Uh yeah, I hope. Going back to our point talking about like the zone that red is sometimes in where it kind of has to either be part of the aggro deck or just removal spells for the slow deck. I think a set that kind of bucked that trend was Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy treated red very, very well, I would say.
I'm not as familiar with like how Final Fantasy actually was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Uh, it's just I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan, so I haven't been paying that much attention to it.
Do you think the flavor was too weird because you weren't a Final Fantasy fan? You couldn't just enjoy the cards as they were? They were too...
I like the flavor of the cards. I just
Oh,
haven't
okay.
been paying that much attention, you know?
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, Final Fantasy, I think, was very 2-color parry, which I think is generally a thing that is a sign of a healthy set. Like if a lot of the color pairs are successful, are fun, are um,
So
different.
this is a stats thing. And according to 17 lands,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy is like the most balanced set in
Hell yeah.
the 17 lands era. Like Gruul kind of didn't work
Yeah.
in that data, but other than that, everything's within like 1% of each other in terms of win rate.
Love to hear that. That's great. I'm kind of looking through the color pairs here and I'm remembering them pretty well. I'm like, yeah, I did that. I did that. The the Is It deck in this format was just like super, super fun. I remember specifically because it's like, is it non-creature stuff? But it's all stuff that you want to spend at least 4 mana on a non-creature spell. And that felt like going in to just be like absolute worthless, like bad, non-functional draft
Yeah,
archetype. But it
it
worked.
kind of sounds like the Bloomborough Gruul archetype.
Yeah, but it absolutely completely worked. And when like a weird archetype works correctly, what else could you want as a drafter? Like I get to do this cool thing that I normally never get to do, and it's just popping off. Both have, it's not like just a red deck or just a blue deck. Both colors are bringing a lot of juice to it. Yeah, that was super memorable. The main mechanics, um, uh, I guess I don't know if it should always be this way, but it's usually good if the cards that have you like your keyword mechanics are just like good cards that you enjoy playing, right? They're not too niche. And the job select cards, basically all those are playable. The saga creatures, the summons, those were, I don't want to claim that they were basically all playable, but a lot of them were very playable and they were better than they seemed and had different gameplay. These creatures that got to hang around for a while, I had a lot of incentive to get them into combat. So it was really discouraging me from just, doing nothing because even if I don't get the last mode off of this summon, if I could trade it off, I'm probably still ahead because the last mode might not be as good as killing another 3/3. So there's a lot of encouragement for combat with the mechanic. Yeah, so between job select and saga creatures, both of those really were really functional, really new, really fresh, and it was surrounded by a cool environment.
Yeah, and I do love the overkill being the set's murder, where its
Yeah,
target creature gets -0, -9999 until end of turn.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the kind of attention to detail you really want out of a set, especially a set like this, where there's like these sort of very where there's a lot of history and a lot of like powerful symbology
yeah,
built up over time in sort of all these cards.
yeah,
Yeah, sure, you could have had, just murder, but then you don't get to put big number on a card.
yeah.
Like you could have made Jumbo Cactuar just have plus
Yeah,
100 plus 0, but then you don't get to put plus 9999.
yeah, yeah.
9? I might have missed a 9.
Eh, the number of nines was a sufficient number of nines, regardless.
Yeah, it was a large number of 9s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even though I do agree that the flavor of the set was a bit scattershot, they were covering
yeah.
all 16 games. No super feel like any game in particular was disrespected or pushed off to the side.
Yeah, or at least relative to the popularity. Yeah, if you're a Final Fantasy 3 lover, how much we're expecting going in, you probably got more than that. I think in general, maybe compared to Spider-Man, the Spider-Man cards often didn't feel mapped onto magic mechanics correctly. Like there are, I mean, it's just part of the nature of the Spider-Verse, but there are like 20 characters that have roughly the same power set, but they had 20 different magic mechanics on them. And so they didn't really feel aligned with what they actually did. The villains, I think, were kind of successful, but the heroes were not. I think in Final Fantasy, you have a different problem, quote unquote, where they really closely matched the functionality of things from specific games. But you would have to have played like a million Final Fantasy games for those to like hit you hard. Unless you remember the like robots chasing you in Final Fantasy VIII, you don't know why it's kind of cool that it comes back an extra time after you kill it. A lot of the flavor notes were really specific and really successful, but also like who knew who knew what that thing was? Who knew what, Excalibur 2 is? Like it's kind of a joke, but I don't know, it's satisfying when you get the joke and maybe just scattered and weird when you don't get the joke.
This is a set that is for Final Fantasy fans, but it's not really for any fan of a particular Final Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. It's hitting a much wider area of stuff, which is weird because Spider-Man probably has way more content for it than Final Fantasy. But anyhow,
I mean, the problem with Spider-Man is the development, the design of the set was kind of.
yeah, yeah, we shouldn't go into the problems of Final. Yeah, we're already low on time, but
But
sorry
yeah,
to interrupt you.
Final Fantasy wasn't a set for any fan of a particular Final Fantasy. It was a set for fans of Final Fantasy, the franchise, or at least fans of a good chunk of Final Fantasy. If you weren't
Yeah,
with it, that okay, nobody's really going to be walking away from this entirely happy and thinking everybody and thinking everything I could possibly ever want to be depicted from my
yeah,
game was depicted.
yeah. I think like I think the kind of ideal place for this Final Fantasy set to sit is like I've played 3 or 4 of these games. I get these jokes. Wait, what are the other jokes from these other references? What are these other references to? And then you Google for a while and you read about this game. You're like, oh, that's cool. And then you're like, oh, I want to play that game. And then now that I play that, I get this joke. Okay, let me understand that character. Oh, to kind of go back and forth. Like it kind of gets enriched by further engagement with the property.
Yeah, I think that's what a really good UB set is gonna do.
Yeah, yeah.
Doctor Who also, as sort of the example. If you know modern Doctor Who and
Hmm.
you look at the all the Doctor Who cards, you'll see. Oh, I get that. You're gonna be the Brad Pitt, I think. I don't know. The guy in the yellow shirt who does the snapping and the pointing in the meme. You're gonna be the guy pointing at thing meme.
Oh, yeah, the DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio. That's it. Yes. And then the gathering part where you want to have people who are like, "Oh, I get that, and I will explain it to you because I am a turbo nerd."
Yeah, yeah.
Like Phoenix Down. Well, this is a super simple one. Why does it exile target skeleton spirit or zombie? Because it did that in the early Final Fantasy
Yeah.
games.
If you revive undead, it destroys it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I guess like wrapping up here, we had 6 sets. What's like number 1 for you? What do you think is your favorite, the one you like the most?
Hmm. I think it is Duskmourn, even though I'm
Mm.
not a horror guy.
It's like fresh, it's new, but it's cohesive, I would say.
Yeah, I also have zero problem with like modern stuff in Magic.
Yeah, that wasn't a downside to you. Yeah, makes sense.
No.
I'm trying to think what mine was. I think it's between Foundations and Final Fantasy are my top two.
That is fair.
Foundations is obviously not like that interesting a set in terms of like new commanders or new mechanics or new whatever. But like the thing they set out to do and how well they hit it is just so successful that in terms of design, in terms of like solving a design problem successfully, I think they really nailed it there. I'll put Foundations first, Final Fantasy second, because Final Fantasy does have the thing we just discussed of like the flavor is very scattershot and maybe doesn't even hit everybody as much as they wanted to. If you're a Final Fantasy 8 fan or whatever, you didn't get enough cards. Yeah. Before we get out of here, I want to remind people about the design challenge. We could use a couple more submissions for this. We haven't gotten too many yet. So if you got a little bit of time and you want to design a card, our challenge is Rockstober. Design a rhino that would fit in a graveyard set. Big rhino creature. It's probably got a big body, maybe not. But give us a rhino that does something in a graveyard set, something graveyard related, cares about it, just fits in a graveyard set. It might not even care about graveyard itself. And that's going to be October 31st. So you got about a week to get that in. And that's about it for our podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord. That's where all the cool stuff is happening. I'm sure we're not that far off of Avatar spoilers, and the best place to be when the spoilers start rolling is in that previews channel, people digesting the cards, pointing out their favorite cards, cool stuff like that. Thanks for coming on, Gabe.
Not a problem. I do not have anything to show, so we can just head on out.
All right. If you want to find either of us, I guess you got to join the Discord, and that's where you're going to find all that stuff.
Exactly.
And most of all, thanks everyone for listening.